Welcome, I am the Kaiju no Kami, and tonight's review is Godzilla vs. Biollante. After the success of Godzilla 1984, Toho decided to hold a script writing contest and the winner would have their script used in the production of their next movie. The winner was a dentist named Shinichiro Kobayashi, and his script was picked among the 5,000 entries. Only remnants of his script made it into the final version of the movie, but those elements included Biollante's battle with Godzilla at the end, the concepts surrounding Mickey, and Erika's death. Kazuki Omori wrote and directed the movie, while the music was done by Koichi Sugiyama. The movie also contains stock music from Akira Ifukube. Finally, Koichi Kawakita took over as director of special effects for the remainder of the Heisei series. Also, last year, the Japanese voted that this movie is the best Godzilla movie of all time. That is actually a lot to live up to, and is it the best? Let's find out. The movie continues right where the previous one had left off at just hours after Godzilla has fallen into Mount Mihara. We see a few scientists have found some of Godzilla's cells around the city from the battle. In another area, there are some Americans dressed up as Japanese soldiers who have also taken a few of the cells when they are discovered.
You've been hit by a smooth criminal.
A chase and a gunfight ensues, which ends with the Japanese soldiers being killed.
You've been struck by a smooth criminal.
Unfortunately for them, an Arab agent from a fictional country of Saradia takes them out and steals the case containing the cells for himself.
Secret agent man, secret agent man.
We are then taken to a laboratory in Saradia where Dr. Genichiro Shiragami, played by Koji Takahashi, and his daughter Erika, played by Yasuko Sawaguchi, work. A bombing occurs at the lab, destroying the Godzilla cells and killing Erika in the process. 5 years pass and we are introduced to both Miki Sagusa and Asuka Aokouchi. Megumi Odata and Yoshihiko Tanaka respectively portray these characters. They are both at Shiragami's lab in Japan, as Miki is a psychic who is trying to communicate with the small shrine of roses Shiragami has. In the meantime, Shiragami is being spied on by two Americans from a company called Biollante.
You've been struck by a smooth criminal. Secret agent man.
That night, Asuka is with her boyfriend, Kazuhito Kirishima, at the Godzilla Memorial Lounge. Yep, you heard that right. They decided to take the footprint of where Godzilla attacked 5 years prior and turn it into a place for a tourist attraction. Why not? Anyway, Kirishima is played by Kunihiko Mitamura, and he is also a scientist working in a lab called Tsukuba. The next day, Mickey brings Asuka into our classroom at a school for psychic children, and they all show her that they have been dreaming about Godzilla. Asuka meets with Lieutenant Goro Gando to discuss the situation. Toru Minagishi plays this soldier who is bored to death with nothing to do since there is no Godzilla to deal with. He takes Asuka and Mickey to Mount Mihara, and Mickey confirms that Godzilla is indeed awake. Gando meets up with his commander, Major Sho Kuroki, played by Masanobu Takashima, and they decided it's time to start working on a new weapon called the Anti-Nuclear Energy Bacteria, which is headed by Kirishima. Unfortunately, they need some Godzilla cells, which are stored at Asuka's father's business, and they ask for Shiragami's help, who declines their offer. An earthquake destroys Shiragami's Rose Shrine, which happens to have Erika's DNA mixed into them, and in all efforts to save his daughter, he offers to work with Kirishima on the account that he gets to study the Godzilla cells alone. He merges the Rose and Godzilla cells together. The Super X2 is introduced, but this time it has some considerable upgrades. It is now piloted by remote, is able to submerge underwater, and has a fire mirror made of synthetic diamonds that can reflect Godzilla's atomic beam back at him. The two Biollante spies break into Shiragami's lab to steal the plans of the anti-nuclear energy bacteria.
You've been struck by a smooth criminal.
They are then attacked by the Saradian agent.
Secret agent man.
Unexpectedly, they all find themselves under attack by some plant creature who kills one of the Biollante agents while the other two get away. Man, even the Japanese kill the black guy off first. A giant monster shows up in Lake Ashinoka, and Shiragami reveals the truth behind it and has named it, or rather her, Biollante.
You are amazing. You fight everything nasty.
A threat is made by the Biomajor agent to hand over the anti-nuclear energy bacteria or face Godzilla being freed from the volcano. As such, Gondo and Kirishima head out to meet his demands. The trade is disrupted thanks to the Saradian agent who kills the Biomajor agent.
Secret agent.
He then proceeds to sprint down the stairs, and the music here is just so damn fun to listen to. I can actually picture this music being used on some laundry detergent commercial or something. The agent gets a hold of the case and Godzilla is released upon Japan. The Super X-2 battles Godzilla, but the fire mirror is only able to hold him off for some time before it is returned to base for repairs. Godzilla briefly confronts Biollante, before setting her aflame. Gondo and Kirishima retrieve the anti-nuclear energy bacteria file from the Saradian offices in Osaka just before Godzilla attacks the city. Now there is some truly incredible looking camera work during this attack. First off, we have this really nice shot of Godzilla right outside the window of where the Saradian agent is located. Next is this shot where it seems like we are given the viewpoint from beneath Godzilla, so watching him wreak havoc from this angle is just gorgeous. This is truly impressive scene and not something we get to see in every movie. Not to mention the miniatures found here are pretty remarkable. Moving on, Gondo and a team are sent out to inject Godzilla with the anti-nuclear bacteria while the Super X-2 battles him once more.
That man is playing Galaga.
Gondo and his team make their way up to their positions in the skyscrapers around Godzilla and launch the anti-nuclear bacteria capsules at him. Most of them hit him in the arms and legs, but Gondo manages to get one directly in Godzilla's mouth before he is met with an untimely demise. Did they seriously just kill off a main character good guy? Rest in peace, Gondo. 14 hours later, and Godzilla shows no sign of being affected by the anti-nuclear bacteria. This causes concern among those involved with its creation when Kirishima realizes it is because of his low body temperature. A plan is formed to heat Godzilla up using a new artificial thunderstorm system called the TC system. Mines are placed around the area that will attract the lightning from the sky, I think. Is never quite stated how exactly the system works, and it seems to vary upon scene. Sometimes they just detonate, sometimes they attract lightning, so I'm not really sure. Godzilla arrives and the plan commences. The sky soon clears up and Biollante sprouts once more, this time in a more monstrous looking form.
Feed me all night long. 'Cause if you feed me Seymour, I can grow up big and strong.
The battle wages on for a few minutes until Godzilla falls over into the sea from the anti-nuclear bacteria.
I bang on the door, but you won't let me in, 'cause you're sick and tired of me reeking of gin.
Biollante leaves and Shiragami is assassinated by the Saradian agent.
Secret agent.
This leads to another chase with Kirishima, and it ends with the agent's enlightening demise. How did Kuroki know that wasn't Kirishima on that mine? Or did he just guess because he knew he had a 50-50 shot? Godzilla wakes up and flees as the movie ends with some pointless exposited narration and a scene of Biollante floating up in space during the credits sequence. That was Godzilla vs. Biollante. Overall, while I do think it is one of the best Godzilla films in the entire franchise, I hate to disagree, Japan, but I do not think it is the best. The movie has an interesting and original plot with a lot of great characters, but at the same time, the movie does drag on in places. There are some scenes that could have been cut down or even removed, and it would not have affected the overall story at all. I love the amount of characters to be found here, although there are a few that did not need to be present. In fact, maybe that's just it. Maybe there are just too many characters to share the screen time with. We have the military men such as Gando and Kuroki, the scientists Kirishima and Shiragami, the secret agents between Biomajor and Saradia, Mickey and Asuka climbing for attention and being the female lead, and then so much going on between all of them. Gando is probably my favorite character here because he is bored by the lack of Godzilla, and he doesn't seem all that saddened when they are unable to stop the bomb from releasing the monster. It is also his sacrifice that makes him even more of a badass despite it being tragic. Of course, it also says that he knows if he doesn't die killing Godzilla, he will die of boredom. Kuroki isn't given much to work with, but he does have some prime moments. I like the subtle hints at a new faction of the military having been created for just dealing with Godzilla, which I'm sure is where G-Force is fully formed from. Kirishima and Shiragami work well playing off of each other, as Kirishima is afraid of what the G-cells can do while Shiragami relishes in it. Unfortunately, most of Kirishima's scenes don't make him stand out amongst the crowd, and he comes off as just another scientist who wants to help type character we have seen in the past. That doesn't make him a bad character by any means, it just doesn't allow him to have his own identity. Shiragami might seem evolutionary in one perspective, but he really is just a selfish bastard because everything he did was only for his refusal to let his daughter go.
Let it go, let it go.
The Biomajor agents are pretty useless, but I do love the Saradian agent. He makes a great antagonist, and I actually believe he is the last true human villain of the entire franchise. Sure, there is Katagiri in 2000, but he really isn't a villain. All of the scenes with this guy come off really badass, and I love the fast-paced music that plays when he is on screen. Asuka and Mickey are a mixed bag. Sadly, while Mickey had the one scene where she used her abilities to delay Godzilla's approach to Osaka, she is really useless here. In fact, the movie might even flow better if you were to take out all of her scenes, for she brings nothing new to the table outside of the ESP aspect. But they could have done that with any character. Asuka is there to provide support to both Mickey and Kirishima. That's about it. Thankfully, the characters work so well with one another that you can overlook their negatives when taken as a whole. Individually though, there are quite a bit of flaws. Nevertheless, I feel these are the best characters we have had in quite some time. The music is quite good, even if it does sound a tad Star Wars-y at times, such as with the Super X2 theme. I am so glad to hear Fukabe's Godzilla theme again, even if it is just a stock theme. As I've already mentioned before, the music for the agent rocks, and I love the score at the end of the movie with the final battle between Godzilla and Biollante. The Godzilla suit is an entirely brand new costume, and it is incredible. The head looks great, I love that he has 2 rows of teeth, but they sadly reduced the fangs. The thighs are a tad thicker than what has been done in the previous suits, but that is a minor complaint, at least for now. I love how all 3 rows of the spines are huge, and they look great. Biollante has been given 2 forms here. The first is that of a rose, and it looks fine, but it doesn't do much. I'm still not sure how I feel about it today as I did when I first watched the movie back in 1996, but I can deal with it. Her final form is hands down one of the most impressive monster designs of the entire franchise. She looks like a plant crocodile, she is unique, original. The vines add a new feel to her in the same manner that Gigan did with his hooked hands in 1972. Kawakita did a wonderful job with the effects here. The miniatures look superfluous, and I already talked about how much I love the camera angles, but the highlights of the effect work are hands down in this battle. There's just so much going on with Biollante that it's impossible to see every little detail in one go. Hell, I've seen this movie more than 30 times and there are still things I am noticing for the first time. It's hard to believe how much work went into all those vines on Biollante alone. Unfortunately, one superb scene alone is not enough to make it worth being the best in the entire franchise. Is it the best of the Heisei era? Definitely. Is it one of the best Godzilla movies of all time? Yes. Is it the best Godzilla movie of all time? Unfortunately not. I cannot agree with that one. Nevertheless, everyone was on their A game here, and this is a must-see movie. Well, that is all the time I have for this episode. Join me next time as we enter with a new origin in Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. Bye.